Okay, everybody, let's get started on this lecture for today. I'm going to actually do string to number and reverse string first. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 small tutorials to get through today. So don't freak out, they're very small. So let's see what we're going to do. So download string to number and reverse string if you can. If you can't get them from bhacker.com, you can get them from the EMS. If you get them from the EMS, they are in the lessons section if you're downloading them. So I have reverse to string out in front of me. So let's start with that one. And this will be interesting. It's in Pages, or Keynote, I should say. So I'm just going to present it this way. Well, let's see, I could put it in full screen and then I can go back and forth when we start doing the source code. Excuse me. Of course, as soon as I start recording, my voice is going to get messed up. Alright, so reverse a string. So today is about learning a little bit about Objective-C and learning a little bit more about how to put it together with Xcode and how to do it with an iPhone project or an iOS project. So why convert? Well, if you've seen it before in a couple of the other tutorials we've done. Hello, we've started. All right. Hello. Okay, thank you. We'd have to use a two-string conversion format or something to convert the string. So in this particular tutorial, we're going to look at the string and the NSString object. So sometimes we want to perform some task on an object and it's not included on the methods of that object because it's not in a right object format. So we're going to convert something to an object format. We've been doing this so far, but this is the instruction that goes along with it. That is kind of the learning objective for today. So the example might be to reverse the order of characters in a string. We're in an NS object string. So we could certainly do this in the code, but it's better if we could add a class method to NSstring. So we're also going to learn how to add a class method to the string and reverse any string that we want. So we're going to use and we're going to use a category to do this, to add a string reversal method to NSstring. So what's a category? The category is sort of like it's not an interface like in Java, and it's not a class. It's a special type of object that we add to projects and we can use them. What we're going to do is we're going to supplement the NSstring behavior with a new method, and the new method that we're going to add to NSstring, which is an object, is going to be a method that reverses a string for us because currently there's no object method that says reverse a string as part of NS object. So what we're going to do in this particular case is add a method to an existing class. So after the class has already been created and the object already exists, we're going to supplement it by adding another method to it. It's called a category. That's what we're going to do. You'll see how this comes together in a few minutes. So the category, and here's your textbook definition now, C constructs that, or in Objective-C, it allows you to add methods to any class regardless of whether or not you have the source code for that class. We don't actually have the source code for this class. In fact, we're adding it to an existing class that's already in our class library. Once you've added the category, all the methods in the category are added to all instances of the code in the class. So the category, when you include it with the project, provides any NSstring can use these particular methods that we've added to the category. So since categories are maintained in separate files, so simply a matter of including them in each new project that you're going to use it in, where you want to extend the class's behavior where desired. So you create it once and then use it all over again. So if you can save your category that we're going to create in this particular exercise, you can use it again and again in any project that you want, and you'll have a nice little method that reverses a string. So, all right, so now we're going to start up Xcode, and we are going to create a brand new project, and we're going to create a UI that looks like this. So go ahead and start Xcode. And I just upgraded my system actually over the weekend. So I have a brand new Xcode version with this is what is the current one? Maverick. I just went to Maverick. So I've got current everything now, which is good, except for all my defaults are off. So anyway, open up Xcode, create a single view application, click on Next. Let's call this one String Reverse, or something like that. And I'm going to create for an iPhone, and I'm going to leave everything on the defaults. Nice that everything was left to the defaults. And I'm going to save it to the desktop. So now I have an Xcode project just like before. We've been doing this a dozen times or so, so we should hopefully be familiar with this process so far. So create a UI that looks like this. It looks like a text box and a label on here. So let's go ahead and do that. Open, excuse me, click on the main storyboard. And let's see, get this moving over here. I'm going to change my background color. And because it's St. Patrick's Day, no, I always change it, make it green anyway. So put a little green background on there. There we go. It doesn't really matter what day what year it is. So let's see, I want to put a UI label on here. Oops, maybe I should type in label. There we go. And I think there was a, here's the label, and there's a box. So we're going to type a string into the box, and then when we press return, the string is going to show up on the label. So I'm going to center the label text, and I'm going to make the text about 20 or so, make it bigger. This you should be able to do without any problem at this point. This is really easy to do. So let's see, I'm going to put a text field in here right above it and make that one a little bit bigger. In fact, I'm going to make the text size about 25 on this one too. So I got a super big text field and I got a super big label underneath it. And I'm going to take the label off the label, so the label's empty right now. There's no text on the label, because otherwise, when the application starts up, it's going to basically have the text on there. Okay, we're there so far. That was the easy part. Let's see. Now the attribute inspector. Well, we're going to set the UI text field's return type to done. We've done that before, actually. So go ahead and do that, and then. Let's see, we're probably going to wire the did end on exit. So this is the text box. So open up the attribute inspector for it on the right hand side. Set the return key to done. Because when we type in something into the text box, we're going to press return key. Return key is going to signal done. And then we have the resign first responder that we're going to put in there. And then we're going to run our lovely method that we're going to write. We haven't written yet. So.
Is it only one label or two?
It's just it's one text box that you're setting the return type to done, and it's one label. We're going to type something here. When we press return, or we click out of there, we're going to have the string reversed for us. Like a palindrome. We can spell something forward and then backwards, kind of thing. We'll see. We'll test out some palindromes, and we'll see how that works. I'm going to close this in the background. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to add a category. So, remember before I was talking about this whole big old category concept, and we'll see it come to life right now. So it's called an Objective-C category, and it's going to be called added methods that we're going to do, and we're going to make the category on a string. So, let's just see. Let's go ahead and go into Xcode. Now, go into File, New, File. Up at the top, see, this is where I have to change because I'm on well, actually, this was on the last thing we worked on, I think. I'm going to click on the Objective-C up here on the top, Coca Touch, and you see where it says Objective-C category. Select the Objective-C category, and then press Next. And then instead it says Custom Photo Album. Now, that's not good. We want NS string, so I'm going to type in NS, and I'm just going to start typing it, and here it is. String, NS strings on the bottom of my list. And I think this was called added methods. So let me just check real quick. Yep, all one word, added methods. and then press next, and then save it. I'm going to save it with the class. And now you see I have this two new classes on the left-hand side, or two new files, I should say. NSString plus added methods.h and NSString plus added methods.m automatically appeared for me. And because this is a category, they're added methods that we're going to put into the string class. So NSString is now going to have these beautiful methods that we're going to create that didn't exist before, which is the purpose of why we're doing this. So now when you click on next, you see that we have these two methods, and the two methods are there as we've noticed before, and that the file naming convention makes it easier for us to see the categories that we've added in, because it says NSString first. So nice to note. Now we're going to open up the NSString.addedmethods.h file, and we're going to put a method prototype in there. We're going to declare a new method called string by reversing a string. And the string by reversing a string is, let's see if I can copy it out of this PDF file, or this text file here. Let me show you what this is for a few minutes, and we'll take a look to see, well, why is this one any different? So click on added method.h, and in between the at interface and the at end, we're putting in this method prototype. So you might notice we have a plus now instead of a minus. So a minus in front of it signifies that the method is for an object, is for an instance of an object. The plus makes it a class method. So we're making a class method, and we're adding the class method to the NSString class. And the method we're calling, the method that we're adding is called string by reversing a string. It takes on one parameter, and the one parameter is an NSString. So we take and we call the method string by reversing a string. It's going to return a string because the data type of the method is a string. And we send it a string. So here's a string, reverse it, and give it back to me is what's going on with this. So I know this sounds kind of basic, but I guarantee you, as soon as we start getting it, oh, that's what it's doing. Like, yes, that's what it's doing. All right, if you haven't been following along, that's what it's doing. All right, so here's the method body. I'm actually going to take and cut and paste it and stick it in to the whole thing. Actually, I'm going to stick it, and then I'll talk about it as I'm going through it. You can correct the typos and stuff. Let's see how this works. This is the implementation. We're going to add it to the .m file. So in the .m file, this is your little overview. Oh, we got some special characters in here. Great. This is your little overview of Objective-C. So as I'm correcting it, I'll just take it line by line. So string by reversing a string, and it's taking on one parameter, str, which is going to be a string data type. So we're going to create two character arrays. One's going to be they're both characters, so they're both going to be called 50. So we can't send more than 50 characters to each one of these arrays. So we have a C string, we're going to call one. The other one's going to be called reverse string. And I'm wondering why I've got interesting. Let's see. There we go. I'm getting rid of all of the special characters that are appearing in here. So two character arrays, and then we have a string that's going to be our return value. So we're going to take the first string, load it up into a character array, because a string is a character array. We're going to load up the character from the string, and then we're going to take the string and copy them from one array to another array and reverse the characters as we're copying them. So we'll start at the front of one and the back of the other, and we'll reverse the two of them. And then we're going to take the final result, we're going to add it to an NSString called return value. So here's our method here. On the string, we're going to get a C string of the maximum length of by test using encoding. Well, we're going to use a built-in method to get the length of the string by the UTF-8 string encoding format. So take that with a grain of salt. Oops, hold on one second. I'm trying to figure out why. There we go. Why I still got special characters in here. Let's just see. There we go. And so we're going to get the string length, then we're going to print the string length out to the, well, why are we going to do that? I don't know. It's going to print it out to the standard I/O, which is going to be the console screen. So it gives a little bit of troubleshooting in here just so we can see what's going on. We can actually don't necessarily need to print a string length out. We could just leave it alone. We can take that out if we wanted to, or do an NSLog. NSLog would accomplish the same thing. So for I is equal to 0, I is smaller than the string length that we've gotten from S string, which is going to be a length from the string that we created from the UTF-8 string buffer conversion that we're going to do on this. And then here's our reverse string array. I is going to be equal to the string length minus, well, we're going to basically take the back of the string length in the array and copy those contents from one character array to the other character array by reversing it by take the first character of this array is the last character of that array using the index values fixed at 50 as a length, but we're taking the length of the string and copying how many digits are in there, putting that in the first array, taking that length and using it as the index minus the back of the queue, if that makes any sense. But long story short, we're taking a for loop for the length of the string, copying it from one to the other. So the string reverse is going to be equal to the other string copied backwards. And then the reverse string here, we're going to actually take the character array and put a null character on the end of it. And the null character, we have to fix the formatting in here, is the /0, gives us that null character. So taking the character array, essentially adding a null character at the end and turning it into a string compatible format, because eventually we want to copy it to a string. So then the return value is now going to be equal to NSString. Well, create a string with CString. Take this reverse string encoding and use that, copy it to a string. So this is our string, and then return the string. So at the end, after we get done taking the one character array, copying it to the other character array, and I'm wondering then why I've got a, hold on one second here, treating encoding characters as white space. Okay, that's fine. Why do I have a... Hold on one second, let me fix my typos. Apparently, no. Someone keeps saying, yeah, no.
There's a semicolon between encoding and SUTF.
That's right.
No, after that, encoding. There should be colon after encoding.
Encoding. Ah, there's no colon here. No. Hold on, what's that? No, yes, okay. But what's wrong here? Treating, okay, that's fine. Let me go back here for a second. I just want to make sure I didn't change this at all. No, that's right. Okay. All right, well, let's see what happens here. Our code should be correct, although I'm getting an odd message here at the end, which is kind of a... I already converted it to an NS string, so I'm not quite sure why that's going to happen, but let's see what happens anyway. All right, so after we've created the character arrays using a C string, we're going to take and copy it to back from a character array into a string, and then return the string value. So we've got the string value coming out of here, which is performing our method implementation for string by reversing a string. It's a method that we added to a category. So we should have a working category at this point. Now we just use the category. So let's see if this works. We're going to continue on. So now that we've had the category in here, so it's much easier if you want to, you can go through this lecture here. It's going to go through everything we just did that I sort of walked through. But And it's the textbook reading, essentially. If you're still confused about why we're using these character arrays and what we're doing with it, you can go ahead and read through the explanation of the method. So now we're going to import the NSString plus added methods to our other class, our view controller, because we're going to use it in there. And wire the buttons, and then put the method body in the well, we don't have buttons. We're going to use the text field. We could put a button there if you wanted to, but we're going to use the text field for that. And then take it from there and implement and run the method, essentially. So go ahead and add the include. We're going to add it to viewcontroller.h. So go ahead and close this one here, or just click on viewcontroller.h.
There is an error still.
Which error do you have? And paste in this one. If you're having an error here, it's probably a paste job. I had to, when I pasted this one, it left out my semicolon, or I removed it. Make sure you got that semicolon after encoding. Actually, believe it or not, all my little warnings went away too, which is kind of weird. I was wondering why I was getting those warnings. You still have errors? Okay, let me pause this for a second and see if I can. All right, let's resume. So the problem could have been associated, if you're still having a problem with the single quotes. When you paste them in from the PowerPoint, they don't come in as the same character set. They come in as non-ASCII characters for some strange reason. So anyway, let's continue. So if you haven't done it yet, paste in the .h file, the include. I'm yelling because you guys are loud, so I'll just yell over you. Alright, so paste in the import of the NSString plus added methods.h. So in here, at the top of my viewcontroller.h file, I am pasting in the NSString plus added methods.h. So go ahead and put that in on the top. Wire, well, it says wire the buttons, but we don't actually have any buttons. So wire the components. So let's wire the did end on exit of the text box, and let's wire the label. And we'll wire the label as, I don't know, how about output or something. So let's go click on the storyboard. So we got your storyboard up. Click on the tuxedo icon so you can get the .h file to your right, which I do. Okay. And then, let's see, make sure we're on the .h, which we are. So let's go ahead and wire. I'm gonna wire this window here as the out. I'm gonna call it output. So I'm holding down the control button. I'm wiring it as a property. It's gonna be called output, and it's my UI label. So I'm pressing connect. And then the tricky part, but it's not really tricky because we've done this a dozen times already, is right mouse click on the text box, select the did end on exit method on the top, and then I'm going to call this one, what should I call this thing? I don't know. Reverse me. Reverse me. There we go. And the ID, I'm changing it to UI text field. So I called it reverse me. Call it anything you want. This is so simple. There's only one method. You're not going to lose it, hopefully. Call it anything you want. Go ahead and press on connect. So we have an IB action for reverse me, and the IB action is the did end on exit, and then we have the label, because when we put the text in there, we're going to reverse it. So let's see. All right. So I deviated a little bit from this, but we'll be able to figure it out, no problem. So on the reverse me method, here's our code. So I'm going to, because I'm going to have to fix the code, I'm going to just copy and paste this in here so we can see what it looks like. Switch over to viewcontroller.m, and for the body of reverse me, or whatever you called your method on the text box, let's go ahead and paste this code in here and see what happens. I'll have to fix it. So the first line is going to be self.output.text. So we called it output. I called this one output. If you called your method something else, change this output to whatever, the property for the label. If you called your label output, this is going to work. If you didn't, it's not going to work. But before we do that, we actually have to synthesize. I got many errors that's going to happen here. So I'm going to synthesize my output first. So underneath at implementation, I'm going to put an add a synthesize line, and I'm going to put output. Because that error hasn't shown up yet, but it will momentarily as soon as I fix the other errors. So self.output.text is going to be equal to NSString. Well, we're going to create a string, and the string is going to be a string by reversing a string, and it's going to be the sender text. So the text that we send it, the sender text is the text that's coming through from the label. Send it to string by reversing a string, and then add it to the label. So we did the entire functionality all in one method call. And then we have an NSLog. You know, we can put the NSLog down there if we want. And then sender, we've done this one a million times, resign first responder. So don't know why. Let's just, we got a special character in here. We got a special character in here. Let's get rid of the special character. There we go. I'm actually going to get rid of the NSLog. I don't really need the NSLog. In fact, up here we could probably gotten rid of the print one if we wanted to as well. So actually, you know what? Why am I going to get rid of it? I'll put it back in. We'll put it back in. The NSLog is only going to show the text. So now I believe, let's just see if there's anything else we're missing here. What happened here? We're going to, the action method sets the output labels to the text property to the reverse contents of the input string by calling the string by reversing a string method. After we're done, first responder is going to get rid of the keyboard for us. The output of this particular program is going to look like this. And before I summarize the summary, let's see it work. So this is the big thing here. That's the method that we added to the category. The category is built on the NSString class. Any string we want, we can run this method on there. So the method should work. So let's see if our program works. So I have to say enable my developer mode. Okay. As I was mentioning before at the beginning, I reinstalled everything got updated over the weekend. So you guys are the guinea pigs to see if my system is still working. It appears to be working. So, all right, so I'm going to type in something here. I'm going to type in mom, and I press return, and I say mom. Is it really reversed? I don't know. Let's see. Let's type in Peter. So now, unless we have a palindrome. Do we have any palindromes? Do we have any palindromes? Spelled the same way forward as the same way backwards. I got to jog.
Indian language and
There's got to be something here. Madam? Madam. Let's just go. Madam. 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 Yeah, that works. Madam works. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense. If I type in pizza, I got Azip. So, anyway, this is a good palindrome test to see if your word is a palindrome. So you type it in, you can see it in reverse. So. All right, well, the learning objective for this, now you have a working palindrome program, hopefully. The learning objective for this, in fact, if you look down here, this is where the NSString. So there's two kind of things going on here. We have the string that's coming out of the string by reverse string, which is the printf string. So if I take a look over here, refresh my memory what I did over here. Remember there was this funky printf that was in here. So printf is coming out of string reversal, and then the NSLog from the other method is printing out, here's our NSLog, it's printing out the label text. So it's a nice way of kind of seeing what's going on, essentially, by looking at, well, here's Peter that was typed in from the NSString, and the reverse of that was our red parrot, whatever it was called. So anyway, I'm going to end this recording because this is the end of this particular tutorial. So hopefully you have a working string reversal. So let's start with a new